All right, good morning. How we doing? Happy Sunday. And yeah, what's going on? We're here to get today again to work on some more Zom Nom Defense. I noticed in the last video that went up on YouTube that I think in the description it says Nom Zom Defense. I think there might still be some places where we still have. Is there anywhere in the code that still says Nom Zom Defense? This is not what I was planning on talking about. There we go. So there's a temp path. Oh, yeah. Okay. Zom Nom. There we go. Cool. I don't know if it's definitely something I've changed in multiple places so far, and I don't know if when we started this, I came up with the name, but if the original name was Nom Zom or Zom Nom, and I went back and forth or whatever, the hazard with AI assisted programming, it's gonna write stuff and maybe it'll get things backwards, or I wrote it backwards and it just kind of copied it multiple places. Anyway, what's in a name? So yeah, so that being said, that's not, like I said, what I was planning on starting the stream with, but what are we starting with? Well, I was looking at this project yesterday. I have been doing some things. So I think, what did we work on last Sunday? Was that the zombie animation stuff? Or was that 2 Sundays ago? I don't even remember. Anyway, we were working on things. Oh yeah. We're working on. No, I honestly I don't remember what we were working on last week, but we definitely merged some things. If I look at merged pull requests recently, some things I did off stream were. Oh yeah, so we had settings in the game, in the game UI, right? So if we launch the game, and we go into settings, we used to have like a debug tab here. Got rid of that. I moved those settings, and this was something I talked about actually on stream, right? So there's a thing with project settings where look at all these settings, right? And these are like Godot settings, right? But you can make your own project settings, and we had one for logging for quite a while, right? But now I've probably set it up so that we have a section for Zom Nom Defense, and then we have logging and debug, and then debug has the thing that will show the debug panel. Right, so that's the thing where you have the buttons to do, like give yourself scrap or unlock all the text. I also made one to bypass text requirements, so you can just click through and take all the text you want, one at a time, rather than unlocking everything. And then show navigation paths as the little red line that showed like where the zombies were going to path. So we can turn these on, and we can do it from project settings. So that happened off stream this week, this last week. We've had for the longest time a kind of broken text tree editor that was a floating dock that we could like put on the side or whatever. So I've moved that. So now that is a little top level. I still don't know what you call these things. But these things, 2D, 3D script game, asset lib, dialogic, because we have the dialogic add-on. Text tree is my thing, my add-on. To manage the game tech tree, and it's not just a viewer. So if we wanted to, we can come over here and change the description or add an icon without having to go. You could, of course, like, okay, this corresponds to the TUR scrap shooter resource, this one, so I could double click this and edit it here. It's basically the same thing, right? Except that I don't have to do that, and potentially, I could have fancier options here. That's a good point. Would it be better, instead of having this side panel, would it be better to have it when you click on this, it just opens it in the inspector. Maybe that would honestly be better than what we have going on right now, because there's a lot of affordances. That's not the right word. There are a lot of capabilities in this UI that we don't have in this. So I think I might plan on changing it back. Change tech tree editor to open, assuming we can do this, I don't know. The inspector, open the resource in the inspector instead of having the side panel. All right. So I'll just put that in the list of things that maybe to work on. Maybe if we get through the things that I intend to work on today, these things, we can work on something from this list. So we'll see. Okay, what else? I just want to catch you up on what's been going on. So what has been going on? Let's see if we go back to the list of pull requests. We had a bug where every click you made was incrementing our stat that was being used for the achievement for clicking a zombie 5 times in number of times. And we wanted that to be, I still want to have all clicks because that might be a fun stat to have, but I want specifically clicks on enemies. So we separated that. We fixed last week, March 30th. What day is it? That would have been last week, yeah. Had an issue. So this was a AI implemented PR, but this made so the default tooltips don't work on things that are when the game is paused. Like if the whole scene tree is paused, tooltips won't work. So this implemented like custom tooltips that do appear even when the game is paused for the hotbar. Fix the bug with the tech tree. You know, we've seen this a couple of times, I think, on stream, where you would try to unlock a tech and like you would earn enough scrap, or you would do whatever the prerequisite was, and you would go to the tech tree and the item would still be, it wouldn't show up as being available to be unlocked. You could still double click it or click it and then click unlock, and that would work, but the visual would be out of sync. So that's been fixed. And I think, what did we actually work on stream? Was it this, like, oh yeah, it was definitely the implement click tech stuff, right? So the idea of having different attack effects for the player for clicking based on unlocking things in the tech tree. So we moved that along. I think we, as I recall, now that it's clicked, if you will, in my mind, I think that we made pretty good progress, but there was some additional stuff with shot click AoE. No, it wasn't this one. It was the double tap crit. We didn't get around to doing the crit stuff. So that's now implemented as well, which is why we're kind of moving on to new things. Because for now, I think I'm pretty happy with what we've implemented. There's more to build on top of it and more to like leverage, like using the attack effects for zombies as well. In fact, why can't I scroll? Oh, I see. There we go. So we have this here. I remember we made this on stream, this idea of having new zombie types that are introduced in appropriate scenarios, right? So having zombies inspired by this scenario, right? These sorts of things. I think one of the things that we could probably look at doing here is use new attack effects to give zombies different attack effects. I guess it's a good name. It's a good name for the thing. If when you try to explain it, you use the name to explain the thing. It's a sign if that's not the case. If I was like, oh, use attack effects to give the zombies spell effects, right? If I naturally want to use a different word to describe the thing, maybe that's not a good name. Maybe that's a better name. Anyway. Right. It's the thing I have to click on the screen over here. There we go. Okay. So we are gonna do at least two things, hopefully, today. getting to what is the plan for today? Well, it's been on the screen. You could have read it. So I think the zombies are too fast. This reminds me of another thing that I had this cool idea for, and I turned around and implemented it this last week. And so we'll see that, and we'll see why. I think I talked about it a little bit on stream, at least once this last stream, but maybe multiple times, around the zombies are just like spawning in one at a time, and we can have them spawn in faster, like at a faster rate, sort of, but only for the wave, right? So we could, up until this change, have the zombies spawn in, but really only for a given wave of zombies. You would set a number of zombies and you would set an interval, right? How often they spawn. And so you could set the interval to be a really small number to have them spawn in one after the other, but you're going to then end up in a situation where I guess you would have to have a lot of different waves. And it would be very discrete. So I thought I have a solution for this, which you might see on screen already. You might have noticed. We now have a spawn rate curve and a spawn interval. Spawn interval is the old thing, and it's not used if you have set a spawn rate curve. So spawn rate curve. Now I'm going to read this. I think this is the first time I've actually read this description. Because this is an idea, and then I had AI go and implement it, and then I tested it, and amazingly it actually mostly worked out of the box, so that was cool. Enemies per second over wave progress, x 0 to 1, right? So we have a wave. Forget about the curve that looks like a wave. Think about over here. Over here we have a spawner, and it has two waves. So this wave is the old style wave. It lasts for 60 seconds. It doesn't have any start delay. So when it's time for this wave to trigger, it immediately will start spawning enemies. It will spawn this type. It has one type of enemy it can spawn, and it has a count for that type of enemy of 1. So it'll spawn 1 zombie. And so the first 60 seconds of the gameplay, 1 zombie will appear, will spawn. The spawn interval is 1 second, and there's no rate curve, so it'll use this 1 second. That really, what that will mean is that when you launch the game, 1 second after the game starts and you unpause, the zombie will spawn, and then 60 seconds for the wave. So even if you defeat the zombie immediately somehow, you will have 60 seconds before the next wave starts. I believe is the case. Let's try this out. And then the second wave has a period of time, but it has that curve. And so over the course of however long the wave is, it will use that curve as a effectively I guess as a probability distribution, effectively, right? So it says this is how far we are into the wave, and this is how many zombies should be on the screen, and it's like how many zombies should I spawn, something like that. Well, we'll go look. I think there is a random element into it. So right now we're paused, so the wave hasn't started yet, And you can see the duration actually here. Right, so if we unpause. So we don't get a countdown though. Wave 1 complete. Aha. Okay. So the thing I said is not true. If all the zombies are defeated, you don't get that time interval before the next wave. I think that's probably not what I want. I don't want to punish people for being better. Or do I? Or do I? So you might notice, and again, I should probably put a real texture in, but we have placeholder textures for the off-screen indicator. Should we do that? Should we can make a little dot texture for the off-screen indicator. Let me put that in the list of things to do. Off-screen indicator dot texture. Yeah, we can do that. So a bunch of zombies have spawned. Basically, let's see if we look at wave 2 here. This is supposed to be 16 zombies, and the goal was halfway in. Is this working correctly? Let me put it this way, a different way. Is this working the way I want it to? So we're gonna spawn up to 16 zombies. I would think that. What are we trying to do? I think what I wanted to do was to have it so that a smaller number of zombies would spawn in, and the most number of zombies would spawn in about 30 seconds into the wave, and then it would decrease in number. Now, what does that actually look like if there are 16 zombies spawning in? Well, let's look at the code. Let's look at the code. So this is in something spawner, enemy spawner, maybe. Also, let's make that text bigger because I think this text is legible for the stream, but I don't normally have text this large. I'm normally, as you can see, I don't need to squint for this, but my monitor resolution is higher than the stream resolution, so there you go. Okay, so is this where we want to be? I don't think so. I think it's in. Does the spawner delegate to the waves? So we start the wave, we get the wave, we call start wave. And then what happens is the wave node calls back to the spawner to tell it to do stuff, right? So the wave owns the logic for what it does, because that's where the data lives for what the wave does. So we have the spawn rate curve. So if it's null, so when this, let's just read to, how many lines of code is this? It's only like 160. So let's just read through this and we'll start with the ready, right? So how does the wave get ready? If there's no spawn rate curve, it does some setup, right? But there should be, because, well, there's not. Okay, we're gonna focus on the second wave because that's what we're talking about now. So for the second wave, there is a spawn rate curve, so none of this is applicable. There's a timer, and we create that timer and we connect it to end wave, right? So that timer is set somewhere, presumably when we start the wave, we set the time and we start it. And then validate configuration just checks to see if there are issues. And then process. So every frame, if it's not active, we don't need to do anything. And then we say we have some wave elapsed value, and we add how much time has passed. So the idea is while the wave is active, we are accumulating how long the wave has been active. If spawning, so there's a difference between is active and is spawning active. What is the difference between is active and is spawning active? Okay, when we try to start the wave, we set both of those to be true. When we end the wave, we set both of them to be false. Okay. What's the change? What is the is spawning active? Like, is there anywhere we are changing one without changing the other? So here we're reading. I'm assuming we're checking this again here because we might change its value inside of this code between here and here. Okay, when we start the wave, if we're active or completed, just don't bother doing anything. If start delay is greater than 0, then we set a timer. And we wait. So we're just going to wait here in this method until the delay is up. Then we set is active to true, is spawning active to true. Set the spawn accumulator to 0, the wave elapsed to 0. I'm feeling like maybe some of these things are potentially duplicative, right? They're doing the same thing. Like here, end wave sets is spawning active equal to false. If not, allow overlap, and the parent has spawned enemies. Right, wave timer is what calls end wave. Okay, and this makes it okay. So I think I understand why we have is active versus is spawning active. Is active is, are we doing stuff in this wave at all? Is spawning active is, are we spawning any more stuff? And those are two different things because of overlap. So the idea with overlap is that if it's kind of the opposite, I think. Well, let me express the whole thought, but I think it's the opposite of the thing that I'm interested in. Overlap here is the idea that if this wave spawns 16 zombies and the wave lasts for 60 seconds, if after the 60 seconds you have not defeated all the zombies, if allow overlap is off, then the wave stays open. Nothing more is spawned, but the wave stays open. But what we've said is once we hit the end of the wave, it won't spawn any more zombies. You get the zombies you get to deal with that were spawned in that period of time. And that's it. So the first thing that I want to do here is I think I want to add some comments. Okay, true when the wave is active between start wave and wave completion. Let us make this comment. So here's a question. If I do this, do we get that comment on? Good. Okay. So because I want to make it multiple lines, so that I can really flesh out what's going on here. This may be, yeah. Now, let me read this comment that was just generated and make sure that I agree with it. So, true while enemies are still being spawned. False once the queue drains or duration ends. Once the queue drains. Once... I don't think that's true. Where do we set is spawning active? All enemies spawn before duration expired. End wave early. So, to do, consider if we actually want the wave to end early. I don't have that add-on, do I? There's an extension to highlight to-dos. Ooh, fancy. I think I'm thinking of this one. It's got like 6 million downloads. 6 million downloads, 115 stars. I guess no one rates. No one rates extensions. But I want that. Is that not? I thought it was gonna work. Just a little tangent. To highlight. I don't have like multiple things here, right? Include. That's for files. Keywords. Cool. There we go. That's all I wanted. Is that too much to ask for? All right. Anyway, so this was the question that I was wondering before, but hold on. Where we got a stack of things that we're trying to like figure out all at once. Well, that we're trying to figure out. I want to stay focused on this. So when is spawning active changed? So at start wave it's set to true. At end wave it's set to false, and that's it, right? It happens immediately, regardless of overlap state. So this statement here isn't true. It's only false. It is, or not only, but it is specifically false as soon as the duration of wave ends, right? I think so. Let's double check something. When is wave? When does, where's this? End wave. What calls this? I mean, we call this, I'm pretty sure, because wave timer calls it. But assuming we're not active, as soon as this method is called, is spawning active is set to false. So wave timer connects to it, and this calls it. Oh, right. Okay, so these two things, these last two things are intertwined, because if we get rid of this, then we just give up on the idea of ending the wave early, right? Which means the change that I made to the comment is true. If we leave this in, then the wave can end early. If we've spawned, if enemies to spawn is empty. So how does enemies to spawn get set? It's the queue of enemies to spawn. Okay, so what sets the queue? Build spawn queue. Right. So you know how we have in the wave a list of types of zombies or enemies and a list of number of them. So this takes all of that and actually makes a list of that number of those things and then shuffles them. I don't know. Oh, I know why it says optional, but it doesn't need to say optional there. So yeah, sure. That, I mean, that is saying the same thing as what this already says. Okay, so that makes sense, but that essentially means that there is an enemy queue, and the current behavior is what this previously said, which is that if the queue empties, if we spawned all the enemies that we are planning on spawning for the wave, or the duration has ended, then spawning is turned off. Sure. So I think for now, hold on, let me check something here. You know, we have this thing, how long is this thing? Oh, it's not bad. It's only 160 lines of markdown. That's the same length as nearly as the file that we were just looking at. But this is the game design document for Zom Nom Defense. Which is kind of like, once I actually went beyond like, oh, it's just yet another practice game, I was like, I want to have an idea of what we're actually building. What are the parameters? Kind of like, what is the essence of it? Which is this: player starts with only a few defenses, completing specific achievements, unlocks more tech, XP system levels up the player, enabling access to higher tiers of the tech tree. Progress persists across session via save files. There are endgame achievements. Eventually, we'll have Steam integration. It's on the list of things to do. Multiple save slots, global data. Tech tree paths to different save slots. So you have this idea of this run, I'm going to try this build, and a different run you would do a different build, but you can't change your build once you've logged in on a save. Branching structure for a tech tree that's mutually exclusive choices. Permanent per save slot. This is just saying the thing I just said. No unlock tickets or upgrade tokens. I don't even know what that's referring to. Probably made sense at the time. Yep. That's kind of duplicative with that, but that's fine. Scenarios: linear but varied in terrain, survivor setup, and zombie wave composition. Yeah, the idea is the scenarios become more ridiculous. At least for the first four. I am imagining that we will have some more strategic and complex scenarios, some ideas down the road for some things. Challenge scenarios, here we go. Okay, why was I looking through all this? Because I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything in here that was specifically talking about the behavior of the waves. Because it's one thing when you're working with people. It's bad enough. This phrasing here. It's bad enough working with people, right? Because if you have documentation that says one thing, or comments that says one thing, and the code says something different, then I think the worst case in that situation versus AI is basically the same. But I think there's better better cases where people are like, I'm pretty sure what the code is doing is right and this documentation is out of date. And if they're not sure, they know who to ask, right? But kind of hit or miss with the AI version of that. Anyway, so I think I want to make it so that if you defeat all the zombies in the wave, you still get that time for the wave. I think I want to go with that. So, given that, the change that I made to this comment here is good. True while enemies are still being spawned. False once the duration of wave ends. This is used to allow the wave to finish spawning all of its enemies, even if the duration expires. No, that's not what it's for. I'll still enforcing duration as a hard cutoff when the wave can end. That's the opposite. In fact, I think maybe if we just go with this comment, this may be false while the wave is active if the spawn queue drains before the duration expires. Do we need this? If enemies to spawn is empty, like we've gotten to the point, like if we're not saying we're gonna end the wave early, then is spawning active is just a proxy for this already, right? See, these are handed together here, but we're gonna remove this. This is gonna go away. So we set it to true here. And then we set it to false when we hit end wave. But we may have... Oh, right. So that's the difference. Is that when we end when the time is up for the wave, we want to stop spawning zombies, even if there are more in the queue. But if we don't allow overlap, we don't actually allow the wave to be completed until all the zombies are defeated. So there is a reason why still to have is spawning active. So let's make sure the comment says that. This may be false while the wave is active if there are still enemies in the spawn queue after the duration is ended, but no enemies will spawn until the next wave starts. E.g. if allow overlap is false. Keeps on, like, you gotta be careful. I mean, I think it's the same. I'm saying this. I've been saying the same thing for like every stream, which is AI is great, except you gotta be careful because like right there, like 5 times in a row, maybe 4, 3, whatever number of times in a row, it's like saying the opposite of what actually is the case. I think. This may be false. Is spawning active may be false while the wave is active. If there are still enemies in the spawn queue, no. If there are still enemies spawned, after the duration has ended. This will prevent new enemies from spawning until the next wave starts. And then we don't need this parenthetical. Or if we say when allow overlap is false. There you go. Okay. Ta-da! We have a nice informative comment that I think is true. And why does it matter? Well, if the comment is wrong, or I don't have this comment at all, I really strongly suspect that the next time Future Me works on this, or I have an AI agent work on this, it's going to break something. Now, I think the other aspect of this is probably I have broken unit tests that we have for this component, or this system. But that's fine. Okay, so anyway, let's create a branch. Remove spawner early end. We will call it, because that's what we've done. We've removed the spawner terminating, or not the spawner, but the wave. Okay, the wave. Anyway, I'm not going to change the branch name. We have changed it so that the wave won't end if you kill all the zombies. The wave will give you that buffer time as a reward for being faster. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. Okay, and this was not at all what I was planning on working on first, but here we are. Unless this AI is going to come up with okay, a shorter summary title, sure. So why do this? Why not just keep on working on the branch? Well, I have some nice things here, right? So Copilot will review this and will either one, spot a logical error in what I'm doing, or two, it will generate a comment that says, no, you've done things backwards, and just it will be wrong, right? But that may be informative. Also, the unit test will run and will tell me what tests I've broken, and we can go and clean that up. This happened again. Remove unused crit multiplier property. Yeah, I think this is fine because the default is 1. I didn't notice that I had committed that. Excuse me. I had not noticed that had changed, but that makes sense. So we have this attack effect, and I think it had the crit multiplier equal to 1.0. I mean, we can just go look at the diff here, right? Yeah, crit multiplier 1.0, but that's the default from the resource. So when Godot looked at this file, it's like, oh, you don't need that. That's duplicative of the default. So it removed the line, and that's fine. Although I suspect we will see a review comment from Copilot saying, hey, you probably didn't mean to change this. So we'll see. Anyway, but that's all well and good. Let's switch back to main, and we're gonna work on the intended thing, which is slow down basic zombies. Okay, we've finally gotten there. So what do I mean? Well, oh, hold on. Before we move on, determine if the wave spawn curve is working correctly. It's not like I didn't test it before I merged those changes, but it was I ran it. It spawned zombies. It seemed fine, but in looking at it this morning, I realized that it spawned a lot of zombies really fast when it should have spread them over the wave a little bit more. And that seemed not quite right. So, hold on. I saw a new button. Just now. Right with Copilot. What does this do? Oh, neat. Okay. Well, maybe we'll mess around with that. Or maybe I'll mess with that off stream. Anyway, moving back to the thing that I wanted to actually work on first today. If we unpause the game and we go look at a zombie, look how fast they are. They're kind of fast. I think they're a little too fast. Now, we should have faster zombies. Don't get me wrong. But I think for this, I do like the idea of spawning like a bunch of zombies. In fact, more than this. I guess there's two things, right? One is that the wave is supposed to distribute the enemies over a period of time. Maybe this is just a, I should turn this down. What does this do? Maybe this is just a me not using the tool that we have. I'm ready to change that sound effect. I really am. Now the other hand is that dealing with one zombie is pretty easy because even though they're fast, they do get stun locked. Maybe look at them. How many zombies is that? All 16 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's probably like 8 on the side, or nearly. Yes, that's all of them. I wasn't necessarily keeping track of how long it had been. Not very long, right? Ooh. Okay, well that's buggy. Restart does not work. Or does? Nope. Interesting. Hold on. Restart button from main, from pause menu. Starts the scenario, but doesn't let the game unpause. And yeah, I know I have a bug template. I'm not gonna fill out the bug template though. All right. So what I was saying though before is that by making the zombies slower, it makes it easier to get that initial stun lock. So it's only like 16 seconds and it spawned all of them. Hey, Brainless. Hello. Welcome.
Brainless Society just got here first and is awesome.
How you doing? Happy Sunday. Right, so I think what I need to do, and this is what I think was originally intending to do, is look at how the... Oh, that's interesting. We have more things here. Doing well, playing Modulus might be the new addiction. Oh no. Or yay. How am I? Doing good. Doing good. I eventually got out of bed. It was enough time to get down and get things set up and wasn't running late today, so that was good. The espresso machine is still downstairs in the shop waiting for me to solder some things and hopefully restore it to functionality. But yeah, well, I mean, it's been down there for weeks and weeks, right? So at this point, it will be, you know, I've already disrupted my routine, right? So I'd have to disrupt it a different way if I fix it. Anyway, I'll get to it at some point. Yeah, I have it. I actually have. So I built this project assembly table. So out of plywood and some. So it's like 4x4 legs, and it has a. I don't know what you call it, but it has a internal So piece of plywood, and then it has bracing internally, both on the outside and through the middle, that cross over. That is also plywood, but with a hole, kind of like, think of like airframe, like you're making out of aluminum, and you cut a hole out to make it lighter weight, but have the rigidity. So I have that, and then a really thick piece of plywood on top, and then I have embedded aluminum T-tracks on the top. So it's like a 6 foot by 6 foot table, nice flat, sturdy, rigid table, and then I put the whole thing, the legs, on caster wheels so I can move it around the shop, which is the basement downstairs. So I have the espresso machine set up there, and I have certain things laid out on the helping hands, and I have all the soldering iron and the solder and heat shrink tubing, everything laid out. And I even bought a new fancy heavy duty like outdoor extension cord and like surge protector set up, because I don't have a handy outlet right where the project table is. So it's all set up. Got the LED like project lamp set up there too. It's just waiting for me to go down there and deal with it, but you know, I don't know, at some point. But yeah, I've been not having caffeine in the morning for what, months now, so it would be weird to start having caffeine in the morning. What was I gonna look for? I think I was gonna look at the wave logic again, right? Because so the thing I wanted to look at, yeah. Boop, 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 boop. So how does the logic for the spawn rate curve work? This is what I want to know. So obviously we have the thing where we calculate it if we don't have it, and then this. So, oh yeah, right. So we were reading through this code, and then I got sidetracked like 5 different branches off as we're reading through it, because I wanted to figure out what this was versus this. There we go. Okay, so this is how far we got. We got to line 72. Okay, so now we have this variable called progress. If duration is less than or equal to 0, progress is 1. Okay, so we are mathing the relationship from how much time has elapsed in the wave versus its duration, and calling that progress. So progress is a value between 0 and 1. Is this if necessary? So duration, oh right, because of division by 0. I don't honestly, I mean, because it's floating point, we would just get like not a number, right? I wonder what clampf does with not a number. Don't know. Maybe it would just give us not a number. So maybe it's just better to do this. Okay, so although duration is the thing that is like 60 seconds, right? Or 10 seconds, the default. It wouldn't be 0. But nonetheless, we are careful. So we divide. So this is the amount. This is the, you know, fraction of the wave that has elapsed is progress. And then what we do is we say spawn rate curve sample progress. Right? So the x-axis on the curve. We tried to pass the reference to the node for the car to the thing that was going to apply buffs, and that doesn't work. It doesn't have the right methods for that. Anyway, I wanted to like show off some of the stuff that works here. I don't think any of the other offensive tech stuff is actually implemented, is it? Nah. So the range amplifier, that's kind of hard to see. The little range indicator nowadays. Basically what we can do, like if we want to do overcharges here, we can stack a bunch of overcharges. Now, I don't know about all the lines. What is our range? I think the range is now so far. Plus 69% range. Let's do more range. Right, so then the range is 120%. Now the range is 186%. There you go. And now if we want to just stack, let's do some attack speeds. Oh, we're done. Did we kill all the zombies? Anyway, so yeah, all that stuff continues to work other than the bug that we found, which I'm glad I tested that. This is not actually what I wanted to test. Let's do this one again. And because we won this scenario, it kept like all the stuff we earned, kept the tech unlocks, all that stuff works. So that's nice. But what I wanted to do, did we unlock shot click? We did. Okay. Yeah. We do. Yeah, I think I want to do more like incremental like tech progress, where it's like, oh, you get this tech and it's like 5% more, 10% more, like multiple levels of it. So if I get them in a cluster, oh, they're too far apart. There we go. We get AoE like splash damage with that tech unlock. Is it going to be enough to win the day? I don't know. I guess with the splash damage there is enough. Oh, rip! It's not. It's not. With the splash damage also staggers the zombies. I think one thing we could potentially do is have, do we want a feat? So how does that work? So what causes the zombie to get stunned when it's hit? Because I'm thinking we might want to have the ability to turn that off for certain types of zombies. Or to change the amount of time it lasts for. Is it in update navigation? No. On died, on health damaged? No, we don't do anything on health damaged. Oh, I think I know. if we look at the scene for the enemy, it has a component called shake effect. There we go. And so all this does, all it does is that when it receives damage taken, it does the shake effect. And so if there's something already, if there's a tween already going, it stops it, it creates the tween, it gets the parent, it gets the parent's position, and then it changes the parent's position relative to its original position. So that keeps the navigation of the parent from making forward progress while the shake is going on. So I think if I were to set this to 0 and I run the game, would that just disable the stun lock? Here comes the zombie. No. No, it does not. Why? Well, that's the magnitude. That's the magnitude. That's this value, right? But that just determines how much it moves around the original position. That doesn't change the amount of time, which are these values, I think.